Okay. Aha ka mana para tawanga wha e. He ke mene pere te wenge whe I. Continuing the cycle 24 times a day. A failed geyser that was once active. Nau mai hara mai ki te whakarewarewa o te ope taua wāhiao ko Paura taku ingoa. Welcome to our village. And if you look across the road there, underneath the big sign, you can see the full name of the village. Te whakarewarewa o te ope taua a wāhiao. Not the longest place name in the country. The longest place name is in the Hawke's Bay area, Napier Hastings. They have 85 letters. Ooh. We only have 37. But we shorten it down to 13 letters. Whakarewarewa. But for the people of the city of Rotorua, they know it as Waka. Now, I'm going to take you through the village and just give a commentary on the history, how the families utilise the resources. If you have questions, my name is Paura.
Paura.
Kia ora, kia ora. No,
kia ora, Paura.
Kia ora. Now here you see the profiles of the guides of yesteryear. Throughout the generations we've had many guides. Out of the many guides, only a handful was selected. 2010 we celebrated the centennial of the guiding legacy. The legacy did not begin at the village. Now about 20 kilometres east of us is a mountain we call Tarawera. At the southern base of the mountain stood the 8th natural wonder of the world, the pink and the white terraces. And this is where tourism began. They were two separate terraces, one white, the other pink. But on June the 10th, 1886, Mount Tarawera erupted, destroying the pink and white terraces. The survivors of the eruption, we acknowledge the two Haurangi people, were then relocated to the Geothermal reserve, now live amongst the families of the chief, Wāhiao. One of those survivors, this lady here, Mary Sophia Gray, Guide Sophia. She was the principal guide at the pink and white terraces. When she came to the village, she brought to the woman her skills, expertise in tourism. Now one of the ladies that came under her wing, this lady, Margaret Patterson Tom, Makariti, or she was acknowledged Maggie Papakura. She was the guide during the 1901 royal visit, the Duke and Duchess of Cornwall and York. She was then invited to the coronation when he became King George V in 1911. She was one of the first Māori women to study at Oxford University. Unfortunately, before she completed her final thesis, she died. Now another famous Gairangi Tiaria, Gairangi, she was the guide during the former First Lady's visit, Eleanor Roosevelt. She was instructed you're not to touch the First Lady, but our protocols state we performed the hongi, so she had no choice but to touch her. It caused an uproar amongst the international media following the former First Lady. Then during the 1954 royal visit, Queen Elizabeth, Prince Philip, when they came to the valley, she brought them through the valley. Now the lady on the end, Dorothy Huhana Mihinui, Guy Bubbles, 1936 at the age of 17 when she started her apprenticeship as a guide in the valley under the leadership of Maggie Papakura's twin sister Bella. Then 2 years later she was awarded her certificate to be a guide in the valley by the Government Tourist Bureau. Then in 1984 she became the Public Relations Officer as well as the Senior Guide at the New Zealand Maori Arts and Crafts Institute, known today to Puia, which is on the other side of the valley. And then she was also awarded her MBE for her services to the community as well as tourism. Then in 1985, after 46 years walking through the valley, she then retired, like my grandmother who still lives in the village. So the next generation continued their legacies, showing visitors through our home. So when we have our next centennial, my profile, and it better be in colour. Now, our entranceway, this is our war memorial archway commemorating the men of the village who served in World War I, World War II. The inscriptions, Te Hoko Whitua Tu, the fighting forces of Tu. Tu is a guardian, we acknowledge Tu Mātauinga, the guardian of war. They're also known as penny divers. Before the bridges, my ancestors carried the visitors across stepping stones for a penny. After the building of the first bridge in 1885, the visitors saw the children swimming in the river and started tossing coins to them. That's how they became known as penny divers. My generation, the currency, 1 cent, 2 cent, 5 cent coins, just like the penny, non-existent. So today the children are known as gold coin divers. Now, if it wasn't for the lockdown, we still would have been busy with our cruise ship season. So this being the 12 o'clock, we would have had about 5 to 6 guys out the front here. They would have had about 40 to 50 people with them. So each group that was going across that bridge, those children were making $100 from each group. But not today. Are you going to get in the river? Thank you so much. Not today. Ara, in memory of, talking about the men of the village listed under the archway. Now this is the only cold water running through the whole valley. Te Puaringa floating blossom. It's the sulphur deposits that run into the river, coming down the river floating like blossoms. Everything on this side of the bridge, boiling point, 100 degrees Celsius.
Ooh.
So to give you an idea of the village, we're located on top of fault lines, coming from New Zealand's most active volcano, we call Whakarewarewa, White Island, located 85 kilometres east of us, sitting in the Pacific Ocean. And running from that island are the fault lines all the way to New Zealand's largest lake, what is known as the Taupo Volcanic Zone. After they surveyed the fault lines, they estimated 1,500 active geysers. In our valley, up to 35. So you can only imagine what the valley was like. Here I'm going to share with you 2 methods we still utilise the thermal for cooking in. This is one of them, what we call Māori microwave.
Ooh.
You can practically cook anything inside the boxes. The steam does not taint the flavouring of the food. It's a healthy, economical way of cooking. So a chicken from frozen to cook, 1.5 hours. Now, and the longer you leave the meats in the boxes, the more tenderised the meat becomes. So it's like a slow cooker. That's why I enjoy winter, because that's when the menus change to casseroles, stew, soups. Now, 4 to 5 families can share a box. We have several boxes dotted throughout the village.
Ooh.
And you can get a facial while you're cooking at the same time.
That's nice.
Yes. Ooh, there is a pizza.
What's going on in here? That's just tied it around. Yeah, I think there is a pig here. It looks like this now. Yeah, yes.
Boil-ups, the best boil-ups in the world. What people, when they do the boil-ups on the stove,
Our favourite.
yes, usually it's the second boil-up which is the best.
Yes.
Here it is the second boil-up. Pare kohuru. Pare to ripple, which is the rippling effects in the water. Kohuru to murder, rippling murderous waters. We nickname the pool champagne because of the pressure. When the pressure builds, the water rises. When it drops, bubbles rise to the surface resembling the champagne. Mostly vegetables are cooked in the pool, never meat, because of the fat of the meat will contaminate the water. Corn, 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Cabbage, 2 to 3 minutes. Broccoli, carrots, cauliflower, 3 to 4 minutes. Eggs, soft, 6, hard, a little longer. Crayfish, lobsters, 5 to 7 minutes, then into ice water. Shellfish, 30 seconds. So all you do is place your contents into cheesecloth bags, tie it to a rope and lower your contents into the pool. The pool has no bottom. Our geologists, they put cable in the pool to measure temperature depth. Surface 96 to 100 degrees Celsius. The further down, the higher the temperature, 285 degrees Celsius. They ran out of cable at 50 feet, realizing the pool opens up as an underground cavern. Now when the pressure builds, the water rises, we channel that volume of water through an outlet to our communal baths. Once the pressure drops, 45 minutes to an hour before the pressure rises again, continuing the cycle 24 times a day. This is what they call a failed geyser. It was once active. Paul, there, breathe in the vapours. Have a facial. Come on, stand there, don't move. What do you think I look like? 172. You should see my grandmother.
Wow.
That's cool.
Oh, the green-lip mussels, all you do is 3 sloshes in the water and that's it. The shell's just open.
Corn.
If you want to feel the water, you just come down this step here and then just place your hands in the channel here and get to feel the water.
So maybe it is hot, but not enough to stay there.
Tio.
No. Whereas this is the outlets where the families collect the water to do their dishes. It's also where we bring the children to teach them how to cook from the thermal before they're allowed to cook around pare kohuru. As we come past the cemetery, tombs are above the ground because of activity below our feet. And here now we're passing the Catholic Church where the other half of my family attend. Tongariro. That's our tribal boundaries.
Unfortunately, this is close as we can get to the geysers because the ladies have the profiles, including my
Of whales of feathers, our famous geyser Pohutu, the big splash. And when Pohutu goes to full eruption, it can reach up to... If you look to the ceiling, the car figure is running across the ceiling, backbone of the ancestor.
Ah, yep.
Coming down the rafters, the black and white panels, ribs. And inside, all carved houses, a central pillar, Pohutu manawa, heart. And that's why we liken the houses to the body of an ancestor. They're the heart of our culture, beliefs, genealogy. The carved panels you see here on the outside of the house depicting genealogy. The figurine at the top, father. The figurine below him, son. If there was a third figure, grandson. That's how genealogy are told through the panels. We do have carvings of our women. They're inside the house along with the chiefs. It's the males that are on the outside. It's for protection. So the carvings, the houses, the markings on the faces. And as I mentioned earlier, they weren't drawn on the face, they were cut into the face. Tāmoko. So the men, they had the full face markings, women, the lips and chin, representing status, genealogy, accomplishments. So when it came to genealogy, one side of the face, your father's history, other side, your mother's. Accomplishments from the eyelids down, knowledge from the eyelids up, as well as singing, dancing our language. Okay. Aha ka mana para tawanga wha e. He ke mene pere te wingi whi I. He ke mene pere te wingi whi o. Hoko mono poro tō wingo who. A e I o u. U. Huku munu puru tu wingu fu.